Man, Lord.
You supposed to be mad at that. That nigga gonna have $1,000
What are you here for?
The truth is, I never met him before. I had no idea who he is.
So, you know, it could have been one of us, man. You know what I'm saying?
Taquari Hatch is finally breaking his silence, and it's shaking the whole internet. He's coming out swinging, explaining why his own brother might have had something to do with Duke the Jeweler's setup. And this time, he brought receipts. He's not just talking, he's exposing. And right in the middle of it all, Boosie had to jump in to defend himself, trying to cool off the flames before this turns into something way bigger. The drama around Taquari, Boosie, and Duke's tragic death is getting uglier by the day. People are starting to ask if Boosie's camp is really as clean as they've been claiming, or if there's something darker going on behind the scenes. Duke was shot and lost his life in Houston, right after a dice game where he reportedly walked away with a heavy bag. What's crazy is that just hours before his death, Duke and Boosie were chilling together. There's even a photo Duke posted to his own Instagram, one of his final posts before everything went left. Boosie, of course, came out denying everything. He's been running around saying he barely knew Duke, claiming Duke just showed up solo at one of his concerts, kicked it for a minute, then dipped.
Dude went with us to the concert, and after I come off stage, everybody leaving. You know, we parked under the parking lot, under the arena where the celebrities parking and all that shit. He was in another car. He walked to his car. His car was outside the arena under where we was. It was on side the parking lot, so he had to walk to his car. And that's where the incident took place, when somebody, you know, tried to get him or whatever.
But the timeline ain't adding up. Fans are pointing out how fast Boosie jumped to clear his name, like he knew people were already side-eyeing him. Boosie even pulled up on Vlad TV to tell his side. He looked dead serious, saying he had nothing to do with Duke getting hit, not a thing. According to him, they only met at that dice game, chopped it up a little, and that was it. Boosie said Duke left the game by himself, headed to the parking lot, and that's when it all went down. He even said, man, it could have been me if I left earlier, like he was spooked by how close he was to the chaos. Still, people aren't buying it. Boosie keeps swearing up and down that his team doesn't move grimy, that they're too well off to rob or set up somebody over dice money.
Bro, if anybody know me, bro, that ain't my stilo, bro. You know what I'm saying? That ain't how I get down, bro. Like, that ain't how none of my people get down. And that's just the bottom line. That's shit that we wouldn't do.
But fans and folks online are calling cap. They're saying he's saying everything right, but something in his story just don't sit right. The same people who once rocked with Boosie are now whispering that maybe the street rumors got more truth than anyone wants to admit. And Taquari dropping these new receipts, that just made it 10 times worse. The streets are watching every move now, waiting to see who folds first, who tells the real story, and whether Boosie's clean image can survive the storm that's brewing. The fact that Duke was literally posted up with Boosie right before he died, that's no random coincidence. That's a full-blown red flag. And the wild part is, Boosie knows it too. That's why he's been out here talking nonstop, saying the rumors don't match his character. But when you gotta keep reminding folks you're innocent over and over, that's when the streets start side-eyeing you. That one Vlad TV interview alone had people second-guessing Boosie's credibility. Every time he spoke, it sounded rehearsed, like he was trying to convince himself as much as everyone else. And here's where things get real messy. Boosie's crew ain't some small-time neighborhood group. These are seasoned dudes who don't move unless there's money, status, or respect involved. So when Boosie says his people are too well off to be robbing or hurting anybody, fans are asking, if that's true, then why did Duke end up dead after hanging around y'all? Something about that story just doesn't sit right. And just when it couldn't get any stickier, here comes TQ, Boosie's own brother, stepping into the mix again. These two got a long, ugly history of family beef, fraud accusations, favoritism, money drama, you name it. Now TQ's out here saying he's got receipts that prove Duke was set up, like real proof, screenshots, transactions, and phone records that could blow this whole thing wide open. But everybody's asking the same question. Why is TQ talking like this now? Is it revenge? Is it guilt? Or is he finally trying to clear his own name before the truth hits the surface? Either way, it's looking bad for Boosie. The streets are whispering that his name might be tied deeper into Duke's situation than he's letting on. Like there's a whole layer of business and betrayal that's been swept under the rug. Now let's rewind and piece it together again. Duke the jeweler, big name out of Chicago, known for his custom pieces and flashy lifestyle, pulled up to Houston for Labor Day weekend back in 2022. Word is, he wasn't there for fun. He was there for business with Boosie. He was moving serious weight. We're talking over $1 million in jewelry and cash. He hit a celebrity boxing match earlier that day, then later slid into a private dice game where Boosie and his crew were hanging out. Boosie's story? He said Duke gambled heavy that night but couldn't catch a win. Lost big but stayed cool about it. Said Duke wasn't even mad, didn't trip, didn't argue, just took the L and played it chill. But here's the thing, that was Duke's last night alive. And the fact that his last known hangout was with Boosie and his camp, that's not something people are just gonna shrug off. The internet's connecting dots, and it's starting to look like the dice table might have been the setup from the very start. Not long after their first link-up, Boosie hit Duke with a personal request. He wanted a custom diamond chain made, something icy and one of a kind. Duke agreed right away, telling Boosie he'd ice him up proper as a sign of respect for another boss in the game. But that friendly gesture turned into a nightmare just a day later. Boosie had a concert lined up, and Duke pulled up to show love. Nothing unusual, just business and support between two hustlers. But once the show wrapped, everything went left. Duke left solo, walking to his car like it was just another night, but he never made it there. Witnesses said out of nowhere, two masked men jumped out of a black GMC truck, ran straight at him, and opened fire before speeding off with his bag and jewelry. It wasn't some sloppy street robbery. It looked calculated, like they knew exactly what they were coming for. And that's what got people talking. Boosie's been on defense ever since, swearing up and down he and his team had nothing to do with it. He said Duke walked off alone, and whoever did it must have been watching him from the dice game or the concert crowd. Boosie claims it was a straight-up robbery gone wrong. But the streets ain't convinced. It's too neat, too quiet, too clean for something random. Now the feds are deep in it, trying to piece together who was in that room, who touched that bag, and whether this was a setup from the jump. But here's the crazy part. Months later, there's still no charges, no suspects, and no answers. Duke's jewelry is gone, his family's still begging for justice, and Boosie keeps doing interviews that raise more eyebrows than clarity. Every time he talks, it feels like he's dancing around something.
What the hell my 19-year-old cousin gonna try to rob and kill somebody? Bro, we getting money, man. We getting fucking money. That ain't our stilo. As a boss, I ain't letting that go down like that, man.
What really made people side-eye Boosie even harder was what happened right after Duke got killed. Just hours later, Boosie got pulled over, supposedly for a routine traffic stop. But the timing had everybody saying, nah, this is off. That wasn't just bad luck. It looked suspicious. The streets started connecting the dots like crazy, saying that maybe the cops already knew something was brewing. Once the feds stepped in officially, that's when everyone realized this wasn't just another rap world misunderstanding. This was a full-on federal investigation, and the scary part, they made it clear Boosie wasn't just some random witness. They were watching him closely. Then Duke's brother Stax came forward and dropped a bomb. He didn't mince words, didn't hide behind maybes. He said flat out he believes Boosie set his brother up. Straight from his mouth, Boosie lined my brother up. He's been breaking down footage, timestamps, GPS routes, everything. He's hunting for that missing piece to prove it wasn't just a robbery, it was a setup. And if what he's saying lines up with what the feds are digging into, this whole thing could explode any second. Duke wasn't just some random guy in the mix. He was a respected jeweler to the stars, known for crafting heavy custom pieces that rappers flexed in their videos. He walked into that dice game with pride, dripped out in his own creations, shining from head to toe. Nobody could have guessed that would be the last time he'd ever walk out alive. But here's the wild twist, the kind that makes people's jaws drop. Houston PD reportedly found Duke's Louis Vuitton bag, the same one full of his jewelry, traced inside Boosie's own house. Not in storage, not with a friend, not misplaced in a car, in his house. That's the type of discovery that makes everything Boosie said look suspicious. Now, the word on the street is that Duke handed Boosie the bag to hold during the dice game. A simple act of trust between two businessmen. But after Duke got gunned down, that bag never made it back to his family. No police report, no official handoff, no nothing. Just sitting there like it belonged to Boosie all along. That's a serious look, and it's got everyone asking the same question. Why was that bag still there? And if that wasn't bad enough, Duke's phone vanished too. No one's seen it, no one's talking, and Boosie's camp keeps sidestepping any questions about it. Let's be real. Duke pulled up to Houston with over $1 million worth of jewelry, links with Boosie, plays dice, then ends up dead, and somehow both his phone and his bag end up linked to Boosie's circle. The math ain't mathing. Now the feds, they're on it like bloodhounds. These agents ain't new to the game. They know every phone leaves a digital fingerprint, a trail that doesn't lie. When they tracked Duke's phone, it didn't just disappear, it pinged right at Boosie's recording studio. That was the last known location before it went completely dark. And phones don't teleport. Somebody had to take it there. That means someone from Boosie's camp was holding on to that phone. That's not rumor, yet that's digital evidence, and it's looking ugly. Then the bombshell hit. When the feds checked out Duke's rental truck, they expected maybe some prints or random clues. But what they found made the whole case explode. They pulled up Boosie's own nephew's fingerprints from the door handle. That's not just bad luck. That's blood family tied directly to the crime scene. And before the dust could settle, investigators discovered Boosie's little cousin was mixed up too. Now you got two family members from Boosie's circle connected straight to the evidence trail. At that point, this stopped being gossip and turned into cold, hard forensic evidence. Every move, every word, every interview Boosie gives now is under a microscope. And just when it seemed like it couldn't get more twisted, a witness stepped forward. Someone who had stepped outside just to smoke a quick one, not part of the game, not in the circle, just a regular person trying to catch some air. And what they saw might end up being the piece that blows the whole story wide open. That witness outside said it plain. They saw Duke walking out of Boosie's spot calm and cool like everything was all business. Nothing seemed off at first. Duke wasn't panicking. He wasn't looking over his shoulder. It was just another night for him. But then, out of nowhere, Boosie's nephew slipped out from the side of the house. Not the front like a normal person, but creeping from the cut like he'd been waiting. That's the moment that's got everybody convinced this was a setup from the jump. According to what's in the federal reports and what the streets have been whispering, Duke saw what was coming and actually tried to swing first. He wasn't caught lacking, but before he could land that hit, Boosie's nephew pulled the strap and let off shots. Moments later, Duke was down, gone before he could even call for help. This wasn't no argument gone wrong. This looked personal, cold, and planned down to the minute. What made things even more suspicious? The jewelry. Word is, Duke's pieces, the same ones he was known for, were held by Boosie's cousin and them. Whether they robbed him on purpose or just decided not to give it back after he was gone, it don't matter. They kept it. That's straight up possession of stolen property tied to a homicide. And the feds don't play about that. Now, while all this murder talk is heating up, you can't ignore the family drama sitting behind it. Boosie and his brother TQ haven't been on good terms for a long time, and that bad blood runs deep. This ain't just a little brotherly spat. We're talking full-on lawsuits, fraud accusations, and over $360,000 allegedly missing from Boosie's own bank account. That's not internet gossip. That's right there in police reports and court docs. Boosie said straight up that TQ forged his signature, played games with his money, and even helped one of Boosie's artists, Young Blue, sign a deal with Empire behind his back. That's not just shady business. That's betrayal with a pen and ink. Imagine your own brother cutting you out your own bag. And that's why this whole situation feels twisted, because now that TQ is the one coming forward saying Boosie's tied to Duke's death, people don't know what to believe. Is he exposing the truth, or is this revenge for everything that went down with that missing money? Of course, TQ denies all of it. He's saying none of that ever happened, that Boosie's tripping and trying to shift blame. But with all this evidence stacking up, Boosie's name sitting in the middle of a federal case, and two family members linked to a murder scene, it's starting to look like family loyalty went out the window a long time ago. The streets are watching close, and every new detail just keeps making the picture darker. Because if that witness is telling the truth, and Boosie's own blood was creeping around that house the night Duke died, then this ain't just a tragedy. This might be one of the biggest betrayals in hip-hop history. Boosie ain't budging, not one bit. He's made it loud and clear that he no longer considers TQ or anyone from that side of the family as part of his circle. Yeah, it's that deep. The bond between the Hatch brothers is shattered, and this time it doesn't look like it's ever getting fixed. But what makes it even more heartbreaking is that this whole mess isn't just about money. It's emotional too. Behind the fame and interviews, Boosie's been open about the pain that's been eating at him for years. He feels like his own mother has always taken TQ's side, even after all the drama, the lawsuits, and the fraud accusations. Boosie said he feels shunned by the people who should have had his back the most. No matter what he's achieved or how hard he's fought, it feels like mama still sees TQ as the golden one. And to make it worse, word is their mother's been begging Boosie to drop the lawsuits. Imagine being betrayed, having your money stolen, your name dragged through the mud, and then being told to let it go for family peace. That's a wound that cuts deeper than any legal battle. Boosie's been saying this favoritism didn't start with the money. It's been there since day one. According to him, TQ's always been the favorite child, the one who could do no wrong, while he's been fighting his whole life for respect. So now, on top of being financially betrayed, he's dealing with years of emotional scars being ripped wide open again. You can hear it in his tone whenever he talks about it, that mix of anger, sadness, and exhaustion. From the outside looking in, it's tragic. Two brothers turned enemies, a mother caught in the middle, and a family torn apart in public. Nobody wants to see blood relatives go at it like this, especially when they once came up together from nothing. But at the same time, we're not talking about some small misunderstanding here. $360,000 in forged signatures. That's not something you just hug out at Thanksgiving dinner. That's betrayal at a level that leaves permanent scars. Right now, there's zero sign of reconciliation. Boosie's done. The lawsuits are still floating in the background. The trust is gone, and the wounds are still raw. It's that kind of fallout that makes you realize sometimes family can cut deeper than the streets ever could. And just when you think that's the end of Boosie's problems, think again. Because he ain't the only one whose name got tangled up in the Duke the Jeweler case. There's another heavyweight with ties to the story, J. Prince Sr. himself. That's where the street politics come crashing in. And this next part might be the most dangerous chapter yet. Now, everybody's side-eyeing J. Prince. Like, how did this even go down on his turf? When you step foot in Houston, everybody knows the rule. You check in. That's not a suggestion. That's a code. J. Prince built that culture himself. If you move through his city without checking in, you're risking getting robbed, set up, or worse. So the fact that Duke did check in, linked up with Boosie and J. Prince Jr., and still ended up dead, that's a major red flag. People are asking the real questions now. Who gave the green light? Because if Duke was under that Houston protection, how did something this big still happen? If you're in J. Prince's city and a man gets gunned down hours after being seen gambling with his son, it's impossible not to wonder who let that slide. The streets are whispering that maybe somebody close to the throne made a move or turned a blind eye. And let's not forget, Duke was seen gambling with both Boosie and J. Prince Jr. just hours before the fatal shots were fired. That's too close in timing for people not to talk. Even though nobody's come out with hard proof, that small detail alone is enough to have fans thinking there's a deeper story hiding behind the smiles and the dice table. But J. Prince didn't waste time clapping back. He went public, calm but sharp, making it clear that just because his name holds weight in the streets doesn't mean he's behind every bad thing that happens in Houston. He called out the media and law enforcement for trying to connect him to the case without proof, charges, or suspects. According to him, people are using his influence as an easy scapegoat, trying to drag his name into something that doesn't belong to him. Then J. Prince Jr. stepped in to double down. He wasn't having it either.
You know, people were associating me with that Duke the Jeweler situation because I went to the Boosie pool party and he happened to be there and he happened to be standing on me. I mean, right next to me. The truth is, I never met him before. I had no idea who he is. I didn't even know he was a jeweler until after his passing.
He said straight up that Duke's death and even takeoffs had nothing to do with dice games, setups, or any type of planned ambush. According to Junior, it was all tragic timing, the wrong place, wrong time situation. He made it crystal clear that his crew doesn't move grimy and had nothing to do with either shooting. And legally, he's not lying. There's nothing on paper tying the princes to Duke's death. The cops never named them as suspects, and no credible evidence ever surfaced linking them directly to the shooting. But the problem isn't the paperwork, it's the perception. When you're a power figure in hip-hop like Jay Prince, people assume you know everything that happens in your city. You can't run the streets and then claim ignorance when things go left. To the public, power means control. And when someone like Duke dies in your backyard, people are gonna talk with or without proof. And right now, those whispers are getting louder. Because even if the princes didn't pull the trigger, folks are saying their silence speaks volume. In a city where nothing moves without permission, the real question ain't just who did it, it's who allowed it. When something deadly happens in your orbit, especially when your name carries power in the streets, people expect answers, even if there's no proof you were involved. That's the curse of influence. It's the double-edged sword of being a boss figure like Jay Prince. The respect comes with blame. So when Duke lost his life in Houston, folks didn't wait for evidence. They went straight to assumptions. Jay Prince's name started trending heavy, not because there was evidence, but because of energy. People said the whole thing just felt off. The vibes weren't right, and in street culture, that matters as much as facts. Suddenly, the whole check-in culture that Jay Prince built was under fire. People started asking, if checking in doesn't keep you safe, then what's the point? That one question flipped everything. Because checking in was supposed to mean respect, protection, and peace, right? But now, folks are wondering, is it really about safety, or is it just street politics dressed up as tradition? Some say it's a way to keep order in the city. Others say it's just extortion with better PR. Whatever the truth is, the faith in that system got shaken hard after Duke's death. At the end of the day, it's all been speculation. No receipts, no leads, no smoking gun, just endless rumors, online debates, and people following their gut. But that hasn't stopped the talk from spreading. Jay Prince himself said he's tired of being used as the industry's favorite scapegoat. In his own words, just because my name ring bells don't mean I'm the one ringing them. Still, you can't deny the timing, the people involved, and that strong Houston connection. It's a lot. And until the streets feel like they got closure, this story ain't dying down anytime soon. Then came Charleston White, always ready to speak his mind, and this time he went off. He said Duke's murder hit him hard. Seeing a man like Duke lose his life in a space that should have been safe, surrounded by supposed friends, was just tragic. Charleston called it what it was. Another senseless case of violence in the black community, and he didn't sugarcoat a thing. But he didn't stop there. Charleston started pointing fingers. He called out mob ties, mainly Jay Prince Jr. and his people, accusing them of creating a dangerous environment in Houston for rappers and entertainers. According to him, artists who check in with mob ties are getting dragged into high-stakes dice games that are already rigged before the first roll even hits the floor. He said plain and simple, it's a trap. These dice games aren't about fun or bonding. They're setups that blur the line between brotherhood and betrayal. And when money, pride, and power are all on the table, it's only a matter of time before bullets start flying. Charleston's rant sent the internet into overdrive, because even if people don't always agree with him, they listen. He's one of the few who says out loud what others only whisper behind closed doors. And his words just added more heat to a story that's already burning too hot to ignore. Charleston White didn't mince words. He straight up believes Duke was set up. In his eyes, Duke thought he was safe, thought he was checking in with the right people. But instead, he got played dirty. Charleston's been saying the same thing from day one. This wasn't no random robbery gone wrong. It was a planned hit, masked as street business. He's been loud about what he calls the industry lie. This idea that checking in means protection. According to Charleston, what people call protection in hip-hop is really just extortion, wearing a friendly face. You pay, you play safe, but if you don't, you're at risk. He says too many artists know the game's rigged, yet they stay silent out of fear or loyalty. And in his mind, Duke's death is exactly what happens when people let that silence fester. To Charleston, Duke's death wasn't random. It was a symptom of a toxic cycle that's been ignored too long. Power, money, and image all mixed together until people forget that real lives are on the line. He's calling for the whole system to be exposed because, as he says, ain't no protection when the protectors are the predators. Meanwhile, Boosie's name is still tangled deep in the mess, and now it looks like the feds are circling even closer. With everything going down lately, investigators are paying attention again, especially to the people around him. Boosie's history with law enforcement ain't no secret. He's beaten plenty of cases, from Baton Rouge to San Diego, but that kind of spotlight doesn't fade easy. Every time his name pops up in something new, old files start getting dusted off. And now with the TQ drama resurfacing, the forged signatures, the fraud allegations, and that $360,000 gone missing, folks are whispering that investigators might be quietly connecting dots between the family beef, the money trail, and Duke's death. It's not just about what's already happened, it's about who's around Boosie right now and what they're tied to. Because when one person in the circle gets jammed up, the feds don't just stop there, they start pulling every thread, looking at every phone, every message, every transaction. That's how they move. And Boosie, being the kind of dude who never backs down and never plays nice, might be painting a bigger target on himself without even realizing it. As for J. Prince, his name is always floating somewhere near the action. Not because there's proof, but because of the power he holds. He's been the most untouchable figure in Houston for decades, managing to stay clear of legal trouble while everyone around him gets caught in the smoke. But every time a major tragedy hits, like Takeoff or Duke the Jeweler, people start asking the same heavy questions. How much control does J. Prince really have? And if he's not behind these events, how is it that everything still seems to happen under his watch? The man's reputation alone is enough to make law enforcement uneasy. Because when your name sits at the top of every street conversation, it eventually starts echoing in federal offices too. Right now, there's no official action against him. No charges, no warrants, no statements, but with his name constantly popping up in connection to dice games, check-ins, and violent fallouts, that kind of pattern doesn't go unnoticed forever. You can only be in the room so many times before someone starts wondering why you're always nearby when things go left. It's hard to say whether the authorities are ready to push harder this time, but one thing's clear. All eyes are on them now. Boosie's under pressure, J. Prince is being watched, and the internet is on fire trying to figure out if these are just coincidences or signs of something bigger brewing behind the scenes. The streets can feel it. The tension, the silence, the whispers, it's all boiling up. So the real question is, will Boosie and J. Prince keep skating past the heat like they always do? Or are they finally running out of room to move? Because if this storm hits, it won't just shake the industry. It'll expose how deep the connections really go. At this point, the Duke the Jeweler case isn't just a murder mystery. It's a mirror reflecting everything broken in the culture. Loyalty twisted into leverage, protection turned into pressure, and brotherhood blurred by greed. Duke's death has become more than a headline. It's a warning. The same names that once symbolized power and respect are now shadowed by whispers of betrayal and setups that stretch far beyond Houston. Boosie's fighting battles on all fronts. Family tearing at him, the feds circling again, and the internet questioning every word out his mouth. Meanwhile, J. Prince is still walking that razor-thin line between legend and liability. The streets see him as untouchable, but even kings can't dodge the court of public opinion forever. What's haunting is how normal all this has started to feel. Dice games turning deadly, loyalty switching sides, and checking in becoming a gamble for your life. It's a cycle that keeps repeating, because every time somebody speaks up, another name ends up gone. And with the feds digging deeper, one wrong move could send this entire story spiraling into a federal storm none of them are ready for. The streets are watching, the blogs are buzzing, and fans are torn between sympathy and suspicion. One thing's for sure, this ain't over, not by a long shot. Whether Boosie's name gets cleared or J. Prince's legacy takes a hit, the truth always finds a way out, even if it's buried under layers of fame, fear, and silence. This is BarzBuzz, where we don't just spill tea, we uncover the truth behind the beat. Was Duke's death the result of betrayal or just bad fate in a crooked system? Drop your take below. Your comment might just be the next headline. If this saga had you shook, wait till you see what's next. You already know what it is. BarzBuzz got the real, raw, and unfiltered breakdowns. So don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with someone who needs to catch up.